Started with our first race, Clerk of Court. This is a race that is going to be a Republican primary, and these four candidates are all running for that position. And they are from your left, watching at home, Matt Gardy, Amy Helland, Stuart Kessler, and Kevin Maddock. The format of tonight's debate is not really a debate, it's more of a forum. There will be a question asked. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond to each question that's asked. And then at the end of the questions, each candidate will have a 30-second closing statement. And with that, we'll get underway. There's been a lot of talk regarding the use or lack thereof of technology in the clerk's office. In a recent guest editorial, and by the way, this first question goes to Matt Gardy, retiring clerk Denny Coolidge suggested that a lot of the campaign rhetoric on this subject was not based in reality, and that the clerk's office is doing its best to, and I quote, maintain a balance between making records available to the public and protecting the public from the unlawful use of personal information. In light of his comments, what are the specific ways in which the clerk's office can be technologically upgraded? Matt, you're the first to answer.
Well, I believe those records can be put online, and I think it's a question of whether or not you have to or you should. And as clerk, I would always look at any of the responsibilities in terms of implementing technology and providing conveniences to the public as if you can do it, you should try to do it. And as an example of that, Santa Rosa County is almost completely paperless. Their judicial system is completely online through the criminal e-filing and also access to those records. And so all I've been articulating during the course of this campaign is if you can do it, we should do it, and not take the most minimal approach to looking at obligations and only obligations. And as a tech director of the state attorney's office, I have a proven track record of what I've implemented, and it saves money and provides better conveniences to the public.
Thank you, Matt. Amy, your response.
I also think that the clerk has many things on his website. What I would like to see is actually changing of the front page of that website so that people can access the data that's already there in a much quicker format. I also believe that my idea would be we would use some of our college kids and high school kids and develop some type of internship program so that we can redact the information that's sensitive and needs to be hidden from the public, but that we could do it for more cost effective without charging the public for, having to do all of this to get it available to the public.
Thank you. Stuart.
Yeah, this is a great example of one of these issues that is much more complex than the campaign rhetoric would suggest. The clerk, because its constitutional officer, is limited in its capital funding available to institute these technologies. There's a modernization trust fund, which only generates so much money at a time. So there are real practical limitations of implementing the technology. That doesn't say that I don't agree with Matt. We should do it to the extent that there is funding available and that there's the ability to do it. And we certainly are behind where we should be, but you can't just make a campaign statement without understanding all of the nuances of the issue in terms of the financing and the state requirements and other legal requirements as well.
Thank you. And Kevin.
Yes, this is a complicated issue. It's a small part of a greater statewide initiative to modernize and bring into the 21st century the statewide judicial system. The problem with the court records online, there actually is a moratorium from the Supreme Court of putting them online. They're still deciding on standards and administrative orders, which will probably come out in October. That will probably request that the clerks submit approval to the Supreme Court to put the records online. But there's a strong concern about social security numbers and bank accounts, and the redaction process is ongoing, but not a simple matter.
Thank you very much. Our next question, Amy Ellen, will start the answers. Another technology question. Currently, attorneys who have cases in the various courtrooms throughout Monroe County must travel 2 to 4 hours round trip for court. Do you feel it is incumbent upon the clerk's office to try, through technology, to lessen the travel time and money attorneys and their clients must spend in order to make court appearances? Amy?
You know, there's some simple technological ways we could get this information to these attorneys electronically. I'm not sure why we don't use it. We actually use these types of technology at the sheriff's office and scan them. You know, we are a 120-mile wide county, and when one of our captains needs something, we're able to scan this information and immediately send it to them at a touch of a button. I would like to implement something like that so that the lawyers throughout the county would have this same capability and the information at their fingertips.
Thank you. Stuart?
Yeah, I believe your question had to do with court appearances as opposed to court documents. Obviously, like Amy said, now court documents can be electronically transmitted. The more difficult issue, though, is the one you asked, which was how can, in a county that's 100 miles long, how can you make it more efficient for lawyers and their clients to attend hearings that are many miles away? You know, already on the criminal side, there are video jail appearances where the inmate can appear from the correctional institution. There is absolutely no reason that same type of video conferencing technology could be used for the broader civil and criminal hearings to keep it some of the routine hearings from people having to travel far to attend them.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yes, I don't know if I have a lot to add, but a lot of it has to do with funding. And we have 3 courtrooms throughout the county, and there has been concern in the past that we might not be able to keep all 3. A top priority would be to keep all 3 open. I believe court appearances would be something that the chief judge could make an administrative order on, but the clerk would not have the power to say we can have this court appearance electronically. But any use of technology to make the court system and the clerk's offices more user-friendly and more efficient, if I was clerk, I would certainly look at implementing funds available.
Thank you. And Matt?
At the state attorney's office, we've already implemented simple things using free services like Skype. For instance, we've had witnesses appear in depositions using the Skype account for free in our office without paying the travel costs. We had one scheduled to actually appear in court in Plantation Key, but I think that case got continued. But it's our efforts trying to push that on the court systems. If our court system was as nice right here as this bench we're sitting at with the technology, we could be doing a lot of that for the attorneys throughout our community and saving them a lot of time, saving the state attorney's office a lot of time. It saves money. If a witness can appear via remote, you're saving travel time, and we have lots of witnesses. We pay for that along with the attorneys. So it's doable, doesn't cost money. There's also $1.2 million in the Public Records Trust Fund that we could use to implement technology for public records modernization. But thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe our next question goes to Stuart Kessler. Currently, the budget constraints facing the clerk's office disproportionately affect Marathon, slowing cases in the Middle Keys. What will you do as clerk to ensure that all cases, including those in the Middle Keys, will move through the court system with equal speed?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, we have to look for efficiencies in the way paperwork is processed so that we can maintain all offices open. Again, just because we're such a long county, we can't have one place closed and inconvenience people. The other thing that I think would help with this problem is the consolidation in the clerk's office of services that are duplicated among different county agencies in terms of accounting and finance. If we can consolidate those services in the clerk's office, it would be a source of revenue and a way to maintain all the services of the clerk. Thank you.
Kevin?
Yeah, I believe the issues in Marathon have to do with the remodeling and rehab of the courtroom. It's an expensive process, removing all the asbestos from the building. So I understand in temporary and trailers that it's not as efficient. I don't believe it is related to any budget allocations on the clerk's office, but the reality of a building that needed some serious attention. Obviously, that's being done now. I don't know exactly the schedule for when it's completed, but I believe it's not in the too distant future. And again, that should alleviate any backlogs and slowdowns that are occurring now.
Thanks. Matt?
I think it comes back to technology again. We have to look long range at how we want to set up our court system in the keys. It's a challenge, but as we are able to relieve the burden of the location using technology and remote access, we can then make better decisions, like perhaps one central courthouse for the most important cases, and a lot of the less significant hearings and appearances can be done remotely. If we work towards that end, we can make long-range plans. I'm talking decade-long plans to consolidate how our court systems work throughout the county, and we should be making those plans instead of revitalizing courthouses in an inconvenient way. We've also worked with the clerk's office in Marathon, where our office gets the documents electronically right from their system, emailed to us right into our system, where our attorneys can make faster filing decisions to help facilitate faster results in Marathon.
Thanks, Matt. Amy?
Yeah, I think that cross-training our staff, developing some internships, coming up with some creative ideas, partnershiping with other agencies, as well as the electronic upgrades, I believe that will help.
Thank you very much. And our final question, this one will go to Kevin Maddock first. The 3rd District Court of Appeals ruled in September of last year that Monroe County had wrongfully seized former shelter services provider Stand Up for Animals bank accounts in order that the funds be released back to the group. Do any of you feel the clerk's office could have handled the Stand Up for Animals situation any differently? Was it necessary to take the actions that were taken? And if not, how would you have handled it differently?
I don't believe it should have been handled differently. It was a process where the cooperation was basically non-existent. Outside law enforcement agencies had to have been brought in to help with the records requests and subpoenas. The 3rd District Court of Appeals overturned it, and that's a matter of fact. But I don't believe it was mishandled. In legal decisions, there's judgment calls, and I don't think the clerk did overstep any bounds. And there were certainly issues, in apparently, just reading from the public record, in my opinion, that I think the freeze was appropriate, but it was overturned. But I don't think anything was done inappropriately or overstepping bounds.
Matt?
I think the freeze was inappropriate. I think it was somewhat of a political witch hunt. I don't think that the audits were conducted evenly across all the shelters, and I've looked at a lot of the documents. There's a reason we're getting sued. The importance here is, should they have froze that money when she might have commingled very small amounts, and she had to gain a lot of that money from other resources aside from the county. We should have erred on the side of caution and give her, I think it was politically motivated due to the fact that she was questioning some of the budget process that was going on with animal control in Monroe County, and it became a witch hunt. So it's a touchy issue, but I definitely think those funds should not have been frozen, and I believe that it was the audits were not done equally between the animal shelters.
Thanks, Matt. Amy?
I personally did not read the actual audit, but audits can be complex in nature, depending on the size and all the issues and findings that may have been found during their investigation. In my opinion, it's very well, it could have been the only asset that was available for the clerk to freeze in order to obtain some type of leverage that, they may have, he may have been trying to protect the county. So unfortunately, I cannot give, a definite yes or no because I did not read the case, but they are complex in nature, and that could have been a possibility, the only one that he may have had available at the time.
Thank you. And Stuart?
Yeah, I actually have read carefully the 3rd Circuit Court of Appeals opinion in the SUFA matter. As you may be aware, the 3rd Circuit tends to be very pro-government in their historic decisions, but the 3rd Circuit gave Monroe County probably the strongest rebuke in terms of their abuse of governmental power that the 3rd Circuit has ever given anyone. We should take that very seriously, and anytime you see government step on someone else's rights, even if you don't like what they're doing, you should be alarmed, because that same thing could happen to you. So this is a very complex issue. I only have 15 seconds, but I would say that the major decisions that were wrong in this case were made by the county, but the clerk does bear some responsibility as well in this matter.
Thank
I
you.
wish I talked about it more.
Thanks. And now our closing statements. We'll start with Matt Gardy and go down the line. Matt?
Thank you. For the last 7 years, I've worked either at the Public Defender's Office or the Office of the State Attorney, and they are the largest customer of the clerk's office. Through that insight, I've been able to, as the largest customer, see where there are deficiencies or improvements needed at the clerk's office, and most of them are through technology. There's a solid department in accounting. We need to make those improvements. It saves money. I have a proven track record at the State Attorney's Office in terms of saving money using technology and providing better service to the public. Check out mattgardy.com for my track record and also those improvements at the State Attorney's Office. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Amy, your closing statement.
Thank you, everybody. You know, it's been 30 years since we've had a choice, basically, in this clerk of the courts race, and I would ask that we base our decisions. It will be easy if we base it on credentials. I have 14 years experience being a chief financial officer. I'm a licensed certified public accountant, 9 perfect audits at the sheriff's office. We've also been recognized by the United States Office for accountability in property. I've proven it can be done better, faster, and cost-effective. Please vote Amy Heavlin August 14th as your next clerk of the court.
Thank you, Amy. Stuart?
Yeah, there's a reason the job is called the clerk of courts and not the chief accountant. The job of clerk of courts has a lot of very complex legal issues as well as financial issues. I'm the only one of the candidates here that brings forward a professional experience in both law and government finance. And those are skills that are needed to do this job effectively. Thank you.
And finally, Kevin?
Yeah, the clerk's responsibilities are complex, and over the next several years, the clerk will have a lot on his or her plate. There's a complex and wide-ranging statewide initiative to modernize the court system in a comprehensive, coordinated manner. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Running the finance department is where the clerk spends a lot of his time. I won't have to go through a learning curve to run the finance department, which will give me time to pay attention and implement the court upgrade initiatives.
Thanks, Kevin. And thank you to all of our candidates. These are your Republican candidates for Monroe County Clerk of Courts. Republican voters will be able to vote for them in the primary election coming up this next Tuesday. 1 week from tomorrow, early voting is happening right now. Thank you very much.